All right, my name is Call Y'all. I'm with Great Millstone, Colorado. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Ha Rakah Kodash, double honors unto our apostle elders which rule Great Millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba ball. All right, so I'm going to get Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived. Yahweh nor Yahweh Shai is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Which this is evident in Exodus chapter 1 with Moses' parents. Okay? When the Israelites went into Egypt, it says they multiplied exceedingly. It says in Exodus chapter 1, verse 7, and the sons of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. Which that's the blessing that the Lord put upon us, is to be fruitful and multiply. It says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, which Joseph, delivered Egyptians out of famine, but only to deliver the Israelites. And that's why the Israelites were there, because there was a famine, and they went down to Egypt, which they were depending on the Egyptians for resources, and that's how the Egyptians enslaved the Israelites. They started pulling back on resources and putting taskmasters on them to put burdens on them. All right, and it wasn't like it happened overnight. They were there for hundreds of years, right? Just like we are here now for over 400 years. We've been in this land, in this captivity, right? Cristobal Colon, right? The Spaniard Jew, so-called Jew, came here, and really he came only to the Caribbean, but as they called it, they came to the New World, right? Looking to conquer the Israelite in the 14 to 1500s. So we've been in this land in slavery, all right, for longer than 400 years. But in the time of Egypt, all right, it was prophesied to Abraham that we would be in Egypt for 400 years. So over the time, they pretty much enslaved the Israelites, all right, by pretty much making them dependent on Egypt, and then making resources scarce. It says in verse 10, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So, how does a larger army defeat a lesser army? A lesser army defeat a larger army. It's through wits, okay? And that's what it was. All right, they outsmarted the Israelite because they had to fulfill prophecy. All right, we had to go into slavery under the Egyptian so that the Lord could bring us out of Egypt and be glorified. All right, and that's what's going to happen here in this modern day Egypt, spiritual Egypt, Babylon the Great, aka America. All right, we had to come into this slavery, and we came here because we sinned, but now the Lord's going to bring us out of here and get glorified. All right, and he already is really being glorified by his elect, which we praise Yahweh in the name of his son Yahweh Shai by the Holy Spirit. And that's why we give double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule, Great Millstone Wild, which taught us the truth. All right. So let me get down to the point. Now it says in verse 16, and he said, when ye do, so Pharaoh, pretty much he put an order in that they pretty much wanted to kill the Israelite babies, male children. All right, which that's why in this modern day spiritual Egypt, you have abortion clinics. All right, it says, and he said, when ye do the office of a midwife, which these are Israelite midwives, which when you go into these abortion clinics and then the doctors, who do you have as the nurse? It's usually Jake, right? A so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American Indian, all right, because that's nothing new, all right? Everything, as it says in the scriptures, there's nothing new under the sun. It says, to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, which they didn't have babies laying down in the ancient world. They sat, they squatted, all right, and gravity did its work and pulled the baby out. It says, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Because they wanted to pop the girls, but they wanted to kill the males, which hold the seed in their loins. Right? Just like today, they're pretty much wanting to exterminate the Israelite. It says, but the midwives feared Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai B'Shem HaRakakudash, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the man-child alive. Right? So they had favor on the Israelites. All right? It says in verse 19, and the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere, which means before the midwives come in unto them. So pretty much the baby's being born before we even get in there, right? So the Lord, he put in a method of escape from this law that Pharaoh has instated to kill the Israelite male children. And it was for his elect, Moses and Aaron. It says, therefore, power dealt while with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. Right? It says, and it came to pass, because the midwives feared Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai B'Shem HaRakakudash, that he made them houses. So he allowed the midwives to get pregnant. All right? And so one of these midwives was actually Moses' mom. It tells you in the second chapter. It says in Exodus 2 verse 1, and there went a man of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was goodly, a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. Now she passed him down in the basket, and Pharaoh's daughter, because he was such a goodly son, he was a beautiful child. She wanted to keep him as her own, her being barren, right? So then she needed a woman to nurse it, all right? And she actually brought Moses' actual mom, and she nursed him, and she was a midwife that was actually one of the ones that was allowed to receive seed and bear a child, an Israelite child. It says in Exodus 2 verse 7, then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to thee a nurse? The nurse is a midwife, nursing a child of the Hebrew women, which Moses was a Hebrew Israelite, that she may nurse the child for thee. And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother, but they didn't know it was the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this daughter and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. Why was she supposed to receive a form of wages? Because she was a midwife. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. and she called his name Moses, and she said, because I drew him out of the water, which the Mo, which is Ma in the Hebrew, showing you that the Hamites, the Egyptians, were speaking Hebrew. The Phoenician language is Hebrew, all right, and it's the Hamite Hebrew. You had the Israelite Hebrew, you had the Edomite Hebrew, you had all these different forms of Hebrew, all right, but the original language of the earth is Hebrew, all right. So Mo, which is water or people, and then the SES on the end is for their God, okay? Their heathen God. So just like we have Babylonian names in this modern society, Moses was an Egyptian name, all right? Even the three holy children, which eventually they had the Babylonian names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But originally they had Hebrew names. But when you go into slavery, they change your name, right? And they give you the heathen name. So that's the same thing with Moses. Moses, he received an Egyptian name with the name of an Egyptian god, all right? But she was saying that he was delivered out of the water. But the Mo is actually a Ma, which is for water. Ma, and then Moses, which would be Masha, Shah, which Shah in the Hebrew's teeth, which represents to separate, all right? Like you would do your food when you're eating seeds, you would separate the seed with your teeth, right? And then Ma, Shah, so they pulled them out of the water, all right? And, this is just evidence of what I brought out earlier. The Lord said, be not deceived. Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that man he also reap. That shall he also reap. All right? And so that midwife, Moses' mother and his father, starting with the father first, right? The Lord had favor on him because they were showing favor to his Israelites, being Israelites themselves, right? So he rewarded them by giving them the son Moses, which he's a very important character in the scriptures, but in all time, because he's King David. He came back as King David, and he'll come back in these last days to lead us also. It says in Jeremiah, because he's the king of Israel, so the Lord's going to set him up. Jeremiah 30 and 9, but they shall serve Yahweh their power and David their king. So whether he raises them up before he returns or he raises them up when he returns, Yahweh Shai is going to set up by the authority of Yahweh, right, as King David as the king of Israel. And David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. So once again, it doesn't tell you if he's going to be raised up before, Yahweh Shai returns, or when he returns, he'll meet him in the air, raised as one that was in the spirit realm, but raised up to meet Yahweh Shai. It doesn't say that. So we got to wait to see that happen, and we'll know. But we know that Yahweh is going to send his son Yahweh Shai, and Yahweh Shai is going to raise up King David, which he's already raising the house of David with the elect men on the corners, signing, crying, prophesying. All right? And that's why these heathen, they're scrambling, because they're having nightmares seeing us remember who we are and call upon our power, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Shalom to the elect, wa abba.